How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Ganji. Welcome to another episode of Tier Talk. Guys, today we're going to be revisiting the Jesse Mack Butler case because, as you know, there he is right there. As we know, it's going back through the court. There's challenges here that the Marsy law was violated, which we'll go over that quickly. And then also that the sentencing, the youth offender sentence, it does not equate to justice. And I think right now the community, if they're not able to get justice through what they would feel is accountability, something punitive here, something that would deter but also make people feel safe, then they are bringing about awareness. And I got a video of Jesse going to court, and it's I believe it's December 8th, and then you got the reporter. I mean, he is laying it on Jesse, asking him questions that are really meant to bring about awareness. And it's a unique video because the sheriffs aren't the bad guys here. They have to protect those that enter their courthouse. So obviously you'll see a little bit, not as aggressive, but a little bit of a back and forth between the reporter and the sheriff. But I kind of understand both sides. Of course, we want awareness, and that's where they feel accountability is right now, is in the awareness. But I can't get mad at the sheriffs for doing as directive. I mean, me and Russ know that one of the jobs in law enforcement sometimes are protecting. And what I mean by protecting the evildoers, I don't mean protecting their rights over the rights of the victims, but rather when they come through our house, our job is to ensure their safety as well. So it's a bit of a conflict, but you have to understand that perspective. Would you agree with that, Russ?
Yeah, but you also have to understand it though from the perspective of self-protection too. If you are out in public with an inmate, many times as I've been, or escorting one across the yard, or anything like that, you can't be sure that only that person is going to be attacked. I've been attacked under escort before, and so you're just putting the sheriff's deputies in a position where they don't know what's happening, and so it's not about them just protecting that individual, but protecting themselves, protecting the integrity of the court, protecting the integrity of the process, and doing what they are supposed to do and what they've sworn to do.
Man, that is an excellent point, because when they talk about that, it is about the safety of all those involved, including, you're right, the people that are going to be in that that building. So yeah, that's an excellent point. I kind of escaped me in that second, but you're right. I mean, that's really, should have thought of that myself too. That's corrections 101 there, but good job, Russ. Thank you for.
Well, it might be paranoia 101, because how I,
yeah, because that was
everything gets assigned a threat threshold.
But that was great, Russ, because I think that provides a really greater perspective of the law enforcement side. Before I show the video, I have two videos. There's going to be one video of the courthouse, which I think you guys will be interested in. And then there's a video from Ashley Banfield. She had a good interview with a guy just at the nick of time. He's been covering this case on his YouTube channel. And I really feel there's some really good information there. But I want to do the backdrop real quick, because the reason why this case is still in the mainstream is, one, they believe justice was not fair here, that the victims did not get justice here, which a lot of us agree with. They feel that the youth offender was kind of a loophole that only benefited this animal, this monster. And that's what he is. Let's not lie here. That's what he is. And we're going to kind of break that down a bit. I have questions for Russ that are outside the videos that I thought we could address, because Russ did work at the juvenile justice system. I never worked with juvenile justice in the juvenile justice system, but as an officer, I did deal with 3 female juvenile offenders that were doing adult time. And there is a difference. So I'm not at the magnitude of Russ, but I am aware of dealing with juveniles. I'm not a stranger to it. But let me give you the backdrop here, because the big thing that is relevant right now is what we call Marsy's law. So before discussing the Jesse Mack Butler case itself, It's important to understand why this case is not considered finished by the victims' families. Under Oklahoma's Marsy law, that's Oklahoma Constitution, Article 2, Section 34, crime victims are guaranteed constitutional rights, including the right to be treated with fairness, respect, and dignity, to reasonable and timely notice of court proceedings, to be heard at any proceeding involving a plea, sentencing, or disposition, and to confer with the prosecution. Marsy law does not give victims authority over charging decisions or plea agreements. However, it does impose a legal obligation on prosecutors and courts to meaningfully consider victims' rights alongside a defendant's constitutional protection. So remember, the prosecutor has to manage both the rights of the defendant as well as the rights of the victim, not to minimize the victim's rights, just bringing that into awareness. Where the alleged Marsy law violations arise in this case, according to filings and public statements from the victims' attorneys, the alleged violations include lack of meaningful notice. Families say they were not given adequate advance notice that a plea deal involving youthful offender status was imminent. Lack of opportunity to be heard before the plea. Families allege they learned of the plea agreement minutes before entering the courtroom, limiting their ability to prepare statements or object. I think it was like 10 minutes beforehand. That's what they're saying. Failure to meaningfully confer with the prosecution. Victims' counsel argues consultation occurred after key decisions were effectively made and the exclusion from key procedural moments. Families say they were not meaningfully involved in discussions surrounding the youthful offender designation, a decision that fundamentally altered the outcome. These are allegations, not findings. No court has ruled that Marsy law was violated. However, the claims are significant enough that the victim's attorney is seeking additional court review and a possible hearing focused on process, not guilt. That legal tension between prosecutorial discretion and victims' constitutional rights form the foundation of what this discussion is going to be. So, Russ, just real quick, after what I read to you, that's pretty specific. That's definitely relevant right now. That's why this is starting to hit the mainstream again. One, it's about awareness, but now they're also saying that the victims are not being honored in the decision that was made, with definitely, I think, finding a loophole that only benefits Jesse here. This did not do anything for the victims. But what's your thoughts on this? Do you feel that there could have been a violation here to Marsy's law?
There's clearly a violation. And there's some really troubling things with regard to it. First of all, if you just look at it on its face, it's clear that many of these parts of Marsy's law were violated. The problem with Marsy's law, though, is there's no meaningful recourse and there's no remedy to do anything about it. There's no civil remedy. There's no criminal remedy. There's no way for them to do anything other than to say, hey, our rights were violated. And so, and that's really key here. And so this little cloister of people, I think it was the judge and the district attorney and one other, I'll have to look back and see that here in a second. They're all part of this, OSU kind of framework. And, they just left everybody, on the outside of that, to wonder, what their part is. And they're clearly, there's clearly victims here. And that extends, to the families of the victims. And so they don't really have any way to claw their way back from this thing that was done to them.
Yeah. And also, Russ, the word meaningful, I'm looking at it now, seems to be rather ambiguous, right? I mean, what does meaningful mean? I mean, is that subjective on who's looking at it? I mean, meaningful for a victim could be a lot different than what's meaningful for Jesse. It really doesn't give a clear definition of what meaningful means.
Yeah. And, if you look at exactly where the statutory violation is, which is Oklahoma Title 10.
Do you have something you want to share? You could share it, Russ. I can put it on the screen.
I'm going to say there on this, there's when ruling on a motion for certification as a juvenile, the court shall consider the following guidelines with greatest weight given to 1, 2, and 3, which is here, whether the alleged offense was committed in an aggressive, violent, premeditated, or willful manner, whether the offense was against persons and if personal injury resulted clearly, and 3, the record and past history of the accused person. So they just went in there and they just decided to disregard this Marsy's law. There was no attempt whatever to conform to it.
But you know what's crazy about the legal term? It doesn't say must, it says shall.
Well, I think must and shall are usually given, the same thing. They have to do this, and they never explained their reasoning on it. There's nothing in there that says this other than they are electing, to treat him as a youthful offender. I
want to just out of curiosity, because I wonder if the shall, I mean, again, working with policies all day, I wonder if shall and so short answer, shall and must, you're right, are generally treated as equivalent in legal effect. Both impose a mandatory duty, not discretion. Okay, great job. But there are important nuances here. Shall, traditionally used in statutes and court rules, interpreted by courts as mandatory, not optional, and imposes a legal obligation. Courts routinely read shall as is required to. Example, the prosecutor shall confer with the victim. Legally means the prosecutor is required to do so. Must is modern drafting preference, clearer, less ambiguous, also interpreted as mandatory, leaves no discretion. Example, the prosecutor must confer with the victim. Also means the prosecutor is required to do so. So most of the time, they're treated as the same, shall or must. Courts across jurisdictions, including Oklahoma, generally hold shall is equivalent to mandatory duty, must is equivalent to mandatory duty. Neither is permissive like may, M-A-Y. The confusion with shall comes from bad drafting, not from its legal meaning. Some older statutes use shall inconsistently, which led to litigation, and that's why modern legal drafting prefers the word must. So, in effect, shall is mandatory, must is mandatory, may is discretionary. Now, why does this matter for Marsy's law? When Marsy's law states that victims shall receive notice, be heard, confer with the prosecution, that language creates a constitutional obligation. It's not advisory, it's not optional, it does not depend on prosecutorial convenience. Whether the statute says shall or must, the legal expectation is the same. Compliance is required, not suggested. That's why victims can challenge process failures even when prosecutors act within charging discretion. Well done, Russ. I mean, man, you were spot on.
Yeah,
Russ, you were spot on.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just, the way that, we have to read things all the time, in corrections with regards, not only court orders, but with regards to, in California, it's Title 15. And so, all of these things, but it creates no framework for redress. It creates no framework for any remedy. And so the fact that they say, oh, they have a constitutional right. What does a constitutional right mean if you have no way to ensure that you're able to actually exercise that right? And that's the real problem with this Marsy's law. They need to add teeth to it. They need to give both. They need to give civil redress to it. They need to be able to, in my opinion, have at least at the Department of Justice level, be able to rein in these rogue district attorneys that just decide, you know what, we're just going to make him a youthful offender. They should have had the right to talk to the Department of Justice and have the Department of Justice in Oklahoma be able to say, no, you are not going to confer that on this individual, and you're going to make sure that the penalty is the penalty that he deserves for what he did.
Yeah, and by the way, so you have shall and must, or shall in this case here, that showcases something definitive must be done. But then in my mind, you have the word meaningful, which a little bit ambiguous. So I wanted to look up the word meaningful as well in relationship to this. And this is what I get. So this it's funny because it comes off as shall, so it's strength. But then you get the word meaningful, which is rather ambiguous. And maybe that's where there's some discretion within the parameters, because it says short answer, meaningful is legal standard, not a suggestion. Okay, that part's good. It does require interpretation, but court uses objective markers to decide whether something was meaningful or merely superficial. So how courts treat the word meaningful. When a law or a constitutional provision requires a meaningful opportunity to be heard, to confer, or to participate, courts ask, was it timely? Did it occur before decisions were made, or was it offered after the outcome was effectively decided? Last minute notice is usually not meaningful. Was it substantive? Substantive. Come on, word. Help me out.
Substantive.
Substantive, yeah. Did the victim have actual information, or were they informed without enough detail to respond intelligently? So being told what already happened does not equal meaningful participation. And was there a real opportunity to influence the process? Could concerns realistically be raised, or could objections be considered? And being allowed to speak after a plea is looked in. Being allowed to speak after a plea is locked in is not meaningful. And then, was it conducted in good faith? Was the interaction genuine or merely procedural box checking? Court, that's very. I just want to repeat that because Russ, when I finish this, I want you to maybe if you could touch on that a little bit. But was the interaction genuine or merely procedural box checking? Courts look skeptically at token consultation. Now, why meaningful is used on purpose? Legislators use meaningful because rigid rules can't cover every situation. Flexibility is needed across cases, but minimum constitutional standards still apply. So while it allows discretion, it does not permit hollow compliance. So how does this apply to Marsy's law? Marsy's law doesn't just say victims may be heard. It guarantees meaningful notice, meaningful opportunity to be heard, meaningful conferral with the prosecution. That means advance notice, not surprise, real consultation, not after the fact explanation. I like that. Real consultation, not after the fact explanation. An opportunity to respond, not symbolic inclusion. This is why timing matters so much in the Jesse Mack Butler case. So, Russ, I thought this part here, right here, meaningful, right? So again, was this conducted in good faith? Was this genuine interaction here or merely procedural box check? And I think a lot of people think that because they feel that wasn't fair. I mean, being notified a couple of minutes before, that seems like box checking.
Yeah, the court actually, has a term, they call it, pro forma, which just means that, hey, this is the way it's being done. And in this case, it really feels like, the decision was already made. And, they didn't give them time to prepare. To me, that's, what part of meaningful means is that you have a chance to engage in the process, to engage in the due process even, in a way that you get to be heard, you get to have time to prepare, you get time to, confer with your attorneys, and that you have a chance to sway the outcome. That's truly what meaningful should mean, is a chance to sway the outcome, because otherwise, why do it at all? Otherwise, why not just have it be, pro forma, and hey, you get a letter in the mail that says, hey, yeah, we decided to do X, Y, and Z. Thank you for participating. And what they've done is they've just eviscerated the heart and soul of Marsy's law, in this case at least, and they've just chose to make it what's easiest for them. That's my opinion.
Right. So now let's say me and you were on both sides of this. I represent one side, you represent the other. So let's say I represent the prosecution and you represent the victim advocates or the victim counsel. I guess as a prosecutor, I'm going to showcase that I went through all these check boxes, and then you're going to probably argue the word meaningful. Meaningful is going to be the center of this, right?
Well, no, I don't think so, because what happens in this case, really is these are things that are supposed to be, put in place and executed by the court at the behest of the district attorney. There's things that they have to do for the victims. There's things that they have to do for the accused. But this is not something where the defense attorney gets a chance to talk about that. This is not being addressed to the jury at this point. This is not being, addressed with regards to evidence that is or is not going to be let in. This is part of what they get a chance to participate in. And it's not something where the law in any way has been, given over, where the defense gets to have their say in it with regards to that. You can clearly see in the language that they've used in the law that they also don't get to just go ahead and after the fact say, hey, we're gonna vacate the sentence and we're gonna give you a new trial. That's not allowed either. So when I get back to it, there's nothing in this law that does anything for the victims unless the district attorney, Department of Justice decides that they're going to go along with it. So that's where I really see this.
I agree with you, Russ. I was watching a few shows on this today, and that's one of the things that they mentioned, because this is really, I think I also saw this with the Kohlberger case, where there was pleas made, the pleas were made, and the victims weren't involved in that. And I guess every state or some has to have some level of Marsy law, which gets interpreted, I guess, differently state by state. But with that said, interesting if they ever could have federal oversight on this to keep things more consistent. But that probably would never happen. But Russ, like you said, this is really between the victims and the prosecutor. And, but you're right. Even if the victims win, what will it do? Because now the rights of the rights of Jesse now would be the concern. What would be what can you do? Okay, we won this. So I do think though it could bring awareness to strengthen the Marsy law though.
Yes. And I see several remedies that they could put in place. And like if I was in charge of it and I could only place one remedy there, this is what I would do from a strategic viewpoint. If I could only pick one thing, the thing that I would pick is civil remedy, because I think a civil remedy probably stands less likelihood of constitutional scrutiny. And if that civil remedy was, hey, man, you get to sue the bejesus out of the county or the state because they didn't comply with this, you would suddenly see all of these district attorneys and everything else falling into line to make sure that those victims' rights were upheld, because then they couldn't afford that anymore. They would have to absolutely prove that they checked all those boxes. Hey, we did this in a substantive way. We gave them the chance to speak. We gave them the chance to possibly sway the process, whether or not we're going to make this person a youthful offender, or whether or not we're going to come and be able to throw the sentencing book at them. So that's what I would do if I could only choose one thing. Of course, I would rather have, multiple aspects with that to be able to, help the victims, because right now, why have that law on the books at all?
Yeah. I was watching a good interview, and it talked about, the prosecutor having to balance both the victim rights and then the defendant's rights. And I still feel the victim's rights should have, it should be foundational, at some level. Where in this case here, I think that wasn't done. I think this, the way they did it here was what was more beneficial for Jesse. Now, I'm going to quickly give a summary of the case and go to our first video. I think you'll find the first video very interesting. And then I have an Ashley Banfield interview. And then I have some questions I want to toss at Russ that me and him will discuss. But let me give you the background of this case. So just against what I talked about above, in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Remember, guys, we did a few videos on this already. So for a more detailed discussion, I would look at our older videos. But we have to put this in the backdrop here just in case people are watching this video or listening to this case for the first time. In Stillwater, Oklahoma, 18-year-old Jesse Mack Butler pleaded no contest to a series of violent sexual assaults involving two high school girlfriends. The charges included rape by instrumentation, attempted rape, forcible oral sodomy, domestic assault, and battery by strangulation, and violating a protective order. One victim was choked so severely that doctors said she was seconds from death and later required neck surgery. Investigators also recovered video evidence from Butler's own phone showing him choking a victim unconscious. What makes this case especially disturbing is that the abuse did not begin with visible violence. Court records and victim statements described a pattern of commonly seen in abusive dynamics, which would be intense intention, so that love bombing, emotional dependency, control disguised as affection, and isolation, often referred to, I guess all of it could be referred to as love bombing. That psychological manipulation preceded and enabled escalating control and ultimately extreme physical violence. Now, mind you, Jesse Mack Butler is 18 now, but when he did these crimes, he was 17. That's important. Despite facing a potential 78-year prison sentence, Butler was granted youthful offender status, which is allowing him to avoid incarceration. He received probation, counseling, community service, and supervision through the Oklahoma Office of Juvenile Affairs until he turns 19, which I believe is August of this year. If completed successfully, his records may be expunged and he would not be required to register as a sex offender. The outrage surrounding this case stems from the severity and repetition of the violence, the absence of prison time, concerns that victims' constitutional rights were not fully honored, and the role of manipulation and control, and ongoing public safety concerns, and the broader question of whether rehabilitation is appropriate when a juvenile demonstrates repeated escalating, life-threatening behaviors. And this case forces a difficult conversation. When a juvenile shows patterns of manipulation, domination, and extreme violence, and victims allege their rights were sidelined, where does accountability outweigh rehabilitation, and how should the system respond? And that's a bulk of our dialogue. All right, guys, so I want to show you the first video. It's going to be this gentleman here is a reporter. Now, again, we'll kind of break this down a little later on, but after the video is done. But I like the fact that this reporter is bringing awareness. I think that's where we feel accountability is right now. If we didn't get it from the courts, then we're going to make people aware of what just happened. So this is about awareness. So everybody is going to be in Jesse's face right now because they're angry. They're frustrated. They feel that he got over the system. So what they're doing right now, to be honest with you, is they are trying to also showcase, I also think, the victims that they're supported. In my mind, I think that's a big thing here. So for me, if you couldn't get accountability through the courts, then accountability is going to come from awareness and making the public know that, hey, this guy's not scot-free. The legal system may have did this, but we are not done with this. And again, the sheriff's department here, you know, their job, I'm not mad at them either. Their job is to protect the people that go into the courthouse. And I love Russ's perspective, you know, not just protecting Jesse here, but also, you know, protecting others who can get harmed if something violent does break out. Yeah, let me play this video, Russ, and then I may stop it a few times, but here, let me play it real quick. I'm going to put it on the big screen. And let's do it.
Hey, everybody, we're out here in front of the Payne County Courthouse in Stillwater, Oklahoma on the Jesse Butler cases. You know, as you know, Jesse Butler was convicted of raping 2 different girls, nearly killing one of those girls by strangulation. This is a sick predator who was allowed by the Payne County Courthouse and by the Payne County justice system to walk free. This guy did absolutely 0 jail time. We're here to continue to expose this guy, continue to make sure that we make him famous, and continue to do everything we can to look into how did Jesse Butler get this sweetheart of a deal.
How's it going? Hey, good. Are y'all going to bring Butler in? Is he going to come through here, or are we going through a back door?
He'll have to come through the security check.
So he'll come through here too? Okay. Somebody warned me that said that y'all might try to bring him in a back door. I was like, I don't think they're going to do him any favors, but I just wanted to.
Jesse, why did you rape those girls, Jesse? Why did you rape those girls, Jesse? Why did you rape the girls, Jesse? Why did you rape the girls? Don't touch me. I'm going through. I'm going in the courthouse.
No, you got to let them
I'm going
first.
in the courthouse. Jesse, why did you rape those girls, Jesse? Jesse, why did you rape the girls? Do you have anything to say to the victims, Jesse? Do you have anything to say to the victims? Being loud is not a violation. Sir, do you have anything to say to the victims? Do you have anything to say to the victims, Jesse? Why did you rape them, Jesse? Why did you rape the victims, Jesse? Why did you rape those girls? Why'd you strangle them, Jesse? Can I go now?
You're more than welcome.
Keep got Walter's cell phone.
There you go.
Y'all lied to us. I don't appreciate that. Sneaking the rapist in the back door.
Sir,
That's ridiculous. You understand what disturbing the peace is, right? Okay. Undisturbed.
So, Russ, before we go a little further, I mean, I just want to make sure people understand. I agree. We want awareness, whatever it is. But, Russ, obviously sneaking the person through the back door is probably what had to be done. For this case is so popular. It's got a lot of people that are angry. And I think law enforcement is obviously aware. So they have to make an effort to protect Jesse. Would you agree, Russ?
Yeah, the trending here, is really, kind of like driving what's going on here. I mean, I'll give absolute kudos to the journalist here in bringing that. I understand him getting a little heated. I also understand, the reaction of the sheriff's deputies, because I've been in that exact situation many times where, things were starting to go south and go wrong in things. And so, they're tasked with a job that's difficult from both sides in this. No matter what else we want to think about it, we do live in a constitutional republic, and we do have, this thing, called justice. I think that what happened in this case was not justice. I think that the court bastardized that. Even though they're officers of the court, I'm sure that they all individually have a certain feeling about this, because I'm sure a lot of them have their own daughters. But they also know that that their duty, is what propels them to have to do what they did. So anyway. But absolutely, man, that journalist, and I don't talk good about many journalists. my heart is with that guy.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, this is, I think accountability right now is coming from awareness. And I think that's what he's just seeking. Okay, hold on.
Disturbing the peace? How am I disturbing the peace?
Because you're being loud.
Being loud is not disturbing the peace, sir. Volume is not disturbing the peace. I'm not threatening anybody. I'm not putting anybody in fear of harmful or offensive contact.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very...
Anybody, please. Just because I'm speaking at a real slightly elevated. That's a different. Pick your lane. Which lane are you going to go with? You guys are protecting a rapist. Why did you hide the rapist? That's ridiculous, you guys. You just made the Stillwater Sheriff's Department look bad. Why did y'all do that? Hiding a rapist. Why? What kind of special privilege would a normal person get? Why does the rapist get special privilege?
Well, now I just want to, again, not to attack the journalists. It's a different situation because, again, this person's got a lot of attention on him. So, again, it's not that they're giving him a special privilege. It's just that there's eyes on him and they have to make an effort to protect. But I know what the journalist is doing. I get it. So I'm not. I just want to give just a perspective for the police because we have law enforcement backgrounds here.
Yeah, I'll say in this part of it, the journalist, I understand what he's thinking. I understand what he's feeling. But I also know that, what is it that he would expect them to do, to grab the guy and take him outside and cut him loose and let the crowd kill him? That's not what we've chosen to do in this country. That's not what the constitutional dictates are supposed to do. I understand in this case, the system clearly let the public down. The sheriff's department, in this case, is part of that system. I'm sure that they don't like it, but their hands are tied to some degree too. But this could be a catalyst for change, man. This journalist, rather than focusing his ire on these guys protecting a rapist, should be focusing on the district attorney protecting a rapist. He should be, focused on the judge protecting a rapist, and all of these things. And that would be a much better use of that internal anger that he's looking at. And I really wish he would focus on that, because focusing on these guys doesn't move the ball down the field at all. This is, if you really want substantive change from this particular county, that's where you have to focus it. And I would focus on getting that district attorney removed, or putting up a really good, pro law enforcement type of person to run against that district attorney. I'm assuming they're an elected official in this case. I would work at having the Bar Association do something about that judge just letting this through. And so, there's a lot of different things that he could focus on other than these individuals that are at a much lower level and just trying to keep everybody safe.
Yeah, remember, guys, it looks like there's 2 jobs that have to be done. But the official job of the law enforcement here, the deputies, is going to supersede what the journalist is trying to accomplish here. So just remember that. And it's just hopefully a level of understanding. All right, it's not to minimize what the journalist is trying to accomplish, but I don't want us to all of a sudden see the sheriffs as bad guys because they have a job that must be carried out. Must, not shall, must.
Deputy, can you tell me that, Rose?
I'm not allowed to say it.
You're not allowed to say anything? Who's your PR guy?
It'll be Rockford Brown.
Rockford?
Rockford Brown.
Rockford Brown.
I'm just not allowed to give you.
I got you. I understand. Don't say anything, Rose. I don't want you to get in trouble, buddy.
As I said, and I'll let it play out. This is the part where I feel is a little bit extra. I'll be honest. Let's just stay, like Russ said. I love what Russ said. Let's just stay focused on Jesse at this point, because, or like Russ said, the higher level, the DA side, because these officers are just, doing their job. All right, hold on.
I don't want you to get in trouble. Yeah, they just freaking backdoor in a rapist. Backdoor in a rapist.
So his family running the front. The seats right here, very uncomfortable. So if y'all wanted to sit, one of y'all wanted to sit right in front of them, they moved away from me. They didn't like me looking at them. Get the security escort too, right?
Look in general.
Two girls.
Hold on. Look in general, like how you're speaking. Like the whole thing.
How I'm speaking.
I'm trying to say, in general, people are upset with him. Possibly want to harm him. We do have to protect him.
Sure.
Just like we
Sure.
protected the victims. They didn't want to
Sure,
come
I understand.
Just like the victims didn't want to come through the front door. So we came in a different way.
Just like the victims.
We're doing it.
Just like the victims.
You gave them the same treatment as the victims. You could have let them come through the front. That's all I'm saying. And
So again, I guess it does get a little bit frustrating here because it doesn't. Russ, I get it, but their job is to protect both parties, correct?
Yes. And that's, this guy saying, why couldn't you let him come? And I understand that, this guy probably thinks, people are, only going to throw verbal insults, which I'm good with. I think that's part of free speech. But the other part is you bring them through an unsecured area and you don't know what you're going to get. And then you have the potential for new victims. People in the heat of passion will do things that they know is wrong, but they can't seem to help themselves. They're not, they don't have the criminal heart, but they have a heart about them where they're just, overcome by their passion for the victims, overcome by their passion and hatred for this individual, righteous as it may be. This is the system that we've adopted, and we have to be true to it.
Yeah, and guys, I want to mention something. Like, I'm okay with obviously, I agree with the attention being brought to this case because obviously there was a failure here. But attention does bring a level of responsibility from again the law enforcement side. So you can't have this amount of attention and then not make no effort to protect individuals when they are forced into the public circle. That you can't, you're going to have to be able to manage both. You want the attention, that's fine. Then we're going to go ahead and also when he's forced into the public circle, we're going to make an effort to protect him because that's our job. So keep on bringing the attention to it, but know for a fact that, like Russ said, we're not stopping you from saying what you want to say to bring the awareness, But when we force them into the public circle, we are going to have to protect that individual, because if we don't, the same reporters that are bringing the attention will come back later on and come after them for not protecting Jesse. And it's true. The media will switch because that will be the next relevant thing. And Russ was able to get a picture of Worthington. There she is. She's probably the center of it all. I believe the one that kind of found some wiggle room.
She approved the application for him being considered to be a youthful offender. So
yeah, and again, I believe there was more time doing what's best for Jesse than actually really taking advantage of the time to work with what would be best for the victims, or some balance. But this is really about the victims right now. Let me continue this. Hold on. I think there's another judge now overseeing everything right now. I don't think she's involved anymore. Okay, hold on.
And he would have gotten to have his moment in the fame, and he hasn't had to go do any time in a jail. Look, I wish he would have been more time with you guys. He should have been in your facility for a lot longer. And all I'm saying is, if you would have just told us that that's the way it was going to go, we wouldn't. Y'all know we were waiting outside. It just would have. We would have been inside. I would have asked him questions up to the courthouse doors, and I would have stopped, because I took off all my recording devices. Nobody needs to tell me to not go in there with the recording device.
So guys, remember, protective procedures or protocols, it's not something you just give out to a journalist or someone from the public. So for him to say, well, you could have told me that there was a change of route, if the sheriff would have did that, the sheriff would no longer have a job. Would you agree with that, Russ?
Yeah. Operational security, that's where it's at. If you really want to, secure an area, you have to have a limited number of people that know what the gig is for that day or ongoing. And so, I understand this guy. Maybe what they could have done is, if they had a few select journalists, they could have, put them in a position to be where they could have asked some of those questions. But this guy is, man, I'm not downing him on this. I'm really not. He is aggressive enough to the point where it could impact, some part of the proceeding potentially. I'm not saying that it necessarily would do that. But you know what? He got to get those questions in. He got to be confrontational with Jesse in that moment, and I laud him on that. I think that was necessary. I'm glad that he put the video out there. I hope that this brings heat to the district attorney. I hope it brings heat to that judge, and God bless this whoever this sheriff is here. He's de-escalating. He's doing it perfectly. And, the one thing that he really can't say is, he can't say, I agree with you, but you know what? The one thing that I think he said this is I don't disagree,
Yeah. And you know what, as I watch this again, we kind of grow in the process as well. He still got to do what he wanted to do. He still got to confront Jesse like he wanted to. So I think all this other stuff is really taking us away from what the main focus should be. I think this is just this part may not be needed. That's the one thing I'd have to say is this part really I think was not needed. You still got what you had to do. You still were able to confront him. No one stopped you there. But the efforts to protect them and then questioning the sheriffs in doing that, I think this part really shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be exploited. This is just that's what they had to do. So I don't fault the process of the sheriffs, and I don't like how we're also exposing in the process another route the sheriffs take to keep people safe. Because here's the funny thing: who else goes through that route are victims. So now we're also exposing the route that the sheriffs may utilize to safely bring people into the courthouse, victims or defendants. So I think this part's going a little bit beyond what we would want to see in scope. All right, let's continue though. All right.
You know, so I'm just saying, like, in terms of PR, that just,
No,
it could have gone a lot better.
But I'm thinking more as safety.
I understand what you're thinking of it. I have no issue with that. That would have provided safety for everybody and then not made y'all look like you backdoored them.
Sir,
It would have provided
would you not
everything.
thought with all the cameras that it had been more safe?
I don't know.
I mean, because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cameras.
Okay.
There's a lot of,
Think of history when a very bad person came walk through and there's been somebody with a gun that shot somebody.
Yeah, that would have been on.
that would have been
not-
tragic.
yeah.
No, I get
Not
that.
us.
I think he's talking about Ruby, right?
Well, no, I mean, there's actually a number of different ones. I mean, you look at Ruby, you look at the individual who ended up, killing his son's rapist. There's a number of other ones that, kind of come to mind. And so, like, we had one here, our local one, we had an individual killed inside the courthouse. And so, safety is job one. And when those kind of things happen, they have a propensity for, creating new victims. I know everyone wants to get their pound of flesh, but sometimes they get the wrong flesh.
There it is. All right. And that's what the sheriff is trying to avoid.
But I don't know you from Tom or anything
Sure.
like that. So it's for a safety reason for both parties involved.
We're talking about the victims. They had to go through this for this guy to get 0 jail time. Talk about traumatic. All of that. The guy that was choked nearly to death. 0 jail time for this guy. So now
Well, he's preaching to the choir.
Yeah, I agree.
By this whole situation, which is ridiculous. But anyway, I just wanted to tell you that. But Ron Durbin is my name.
Justin Henniger.
Hey, Justin, nice to meet you. And I already introduced myself. Ron, Corey. Good to meet you, Corey. Again, we just wanted to explain that to you guys from our perspective, of just how it would look better.
Yeah, and you'll probably end up with some angry phone calls in a few
Do what,
days.
sorry?
You'll end up with a lot of angry phone calls in a few
So
days
that's
from
just how that
that.
went down. Again, it's just
I mean-
unnecessarily.
So now I'm going to be, again, it's just me being objective again. I you know what? I don't know if when that person said that was a subtle thing to push for the angry phone calls. But you're going to get a lot of angry. I don't know if that's pushing that out subtly to the audience there.
But
But
what good does an angry phone call do to the sheriff's department?
yeah, I don't know.
It just
I
makes them
agree.
having to take a higher profile. If you want to put angry phone calls out there, you call your state senator, you call your state representative, you call the bar association.
And Russ, what would be the angry?
Maybe you even call the judges chamber.
But Russ, what would be the angry phone call that you wanted to safeguard people coming into the courthouse? I mean, there's really what would someone tell you? You're right. We should have exposed them and
that's it. Is focus your anger so that it does some good.
I agree. I agree with you 100%. It's just now it's no longer targeted. It's more of just let's hit anything. But I felt that was like kind of, I don't know if that was a power move. I don't know what that was there.
I'm not trying to make a joke of the matter, but we get angry phone calls every day. I mean, but no, I understand what you mean by specifically this.
Yeah,
You gotta love the equal protection sign right in front of Jesse Butler's courtroom.
Okay, so maybe I'm starting to shift a little bit in my perspective.
Well, he's wandering off of the reservation,
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. My perspective shifting a little bit, Russ. Right?
So, I mean, that's just like if I wanted to narrow the focus. We can talk about all the amendments and we can talk about what guarantees what. But the purpose of having a constitutional republic is that everybody is supposed to color within the lines. Everybody. And so when we talk about equal protection, then he's actually directing a statement against himself there because he wants special treatment so that he would get to see the accused. He wants special treatment so that he was hoping he could expose the accused to danger. And so, you know, he should be thinking about, you know, what being in a constitutional republic means. It doesn't mean that it's perfect and that things are always going to go our way. There is a redress for this. And I hope that they focus and they really do that. They need to get that judge out of there. They need to get that district attorney out of there. And they need to, you know, start focusing on victims' rights.
Yeah. And I think the filter is wrong here too, because when the journalist looks at this poster, he's filtering it as if it's Jesse, and it's actually filtered through the sheriffs having to do their job. So, and again, this is not the higher level court system. We're talking about the sheriffs in the moment. All we're talking about right now is what's relevant in the moment, bringing this person into court and bringing them out. This is what's relevant in the moment. What led to this point, that's above even the sheriffs here to resolve. So that filter really should not be going through what he's going to try to do through Jesse, but rather the sheriff's trying to accommodate their assignment in the moment, their assigned task. Wait, hold on.
My legs choked me.
I don't know which one you don't like. I don't know. It depends. Which one you with? No. You got Tulsa? You're probably okay if you're not out of Tulsa. As long as it really is Fox 23 and News on 6, I don't care. Are you News 9?
He's News 2.
Oh, then I like you guys. You're cute.
I seen it on your line.
You said you want
Should have been a police officer.
I'm not telling you. You tell me.
Well, so I just some of the local media in Tulsa and I don't get along so well. Mama and Daddy and sister were right here.
Do what?
Are they going to smuggle them out too?
Oh yeah, they smuggled them in too.
There's a shot.
They smuggled them in.
No, not two.
Oh, they're taking Jesse.
He's out over now.
I mean, he's
He's sneaking out the back, guys.
Oh.
Don't film the victims. Those are victims, y'all. Those are victims.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Imagine being able to build anything.
Why'd you rape him?
You feel bad for being a rapist, Jesse?
Why'd you rape him? Why'd you rape him?
Why didn't you do anything? She's screaming for help, Mom.
Who are you, Jackie? What kind of a piece of shit? Piece of shit. Piece of shit. Mac, you too, you little fucking scum.
How do you all feel about
Scumbags? See him in the front. Work on that PR stuff, though. We just be on the other side.
So Russ, let's not lie. I'm okay with all this though. Right? Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. So does my dog.
Oh, okay. All right, hold on. We're almost done with this video. Let me wrap it up. Hold on.
Okay.
We would have had no issues. You see, nobody was violent. Yeah. Nobody was violent.
Yeah, but you can't.
We will never be violent, I promise you.
Freedom of speech.
Ain't not a problem at all, guys.
Freedom of speech. Sir, he did nothing.
See, he
Hey,
doesn't
I feel like
understand. He doesn't
News 6.
understand what
I'm sorry?
he doesn't understand how we view threats.
I don't like News 6.
What happened?
Yeah, they're just kind of scumbags.
It's not your job to look out for my safety.
I'm sorry. Was there a particular incident?
Yeah, lots. Yeah, lots. No offense.
No,
Thanks anyway.
Supreme Court ruled against that. You have no duty to.
I just News 6 is that's how many?
Yeah, like there were possibly 2 victims of sexual assault when the vice principal said there were 7 on video.
Child was sexually assaulting. You have 7 victims at this point in an hour. I mean, it is.
You're the shill. They're the shill for the government.
Is the other kid that right? Is he in jail too? Is he in jail still?
Which one?
The other
No, $30,000 bond.
Is he out?
Yes.
I know that kid. Well, I don't know him. I
$30,000
know-
bond. They let him out on a $30,000 bond.
But they'll put drug dealers in jail. They'll let rapists.
Right. Oh, yeah, you hurt a woman or a child and you're okay. You do drugs or something, or you're black, you're screwed. But you hurt a woman or a child, you're fine.
All right, so that's the first video. I do have one more video, and I wanted to hope we could speed through some questions here. But I do want to do the second video. But as I said, I mean, I do agree with the freedom of speech aspect, but I also 100% is going to agree with the fact that you got to keep all parties safe. So I think one part was good on his behalf. But I think when he started kind of going after the sheriffs for doing what they had to do that was assigned to them, the task that they had to accomplish, I think that became a bit, like Russ said, off course, off the reservation. Russ, what do you got here, Russ?
What's that? Oh, that's the district attorney, Laura Thomas.
All right, so yeah, so I guess that's where your arguments are going to be, like Russ said. Let's do the other video, Russ, and then maybe some of these questions will probably eliminate themselves through the next video. But let me go ahead and share. Now, I haven't seen this full interview yet, but this is from Ashley Banfield, and I believe you're also going to have J.J. Humphreys as well as Nick of Time on this. So it's got a couple of strong advocates here for the victims. Okay, hold on one second. Okay, guys, real quick. Russ had to go. Be mindful, we do have Buy Me a Cup of Coffee. We have links to that in the description of this video, as well as top of the YouTube channel. So if you guys like the content, feel free to go ahead and buy us a cup of coffee. I have my link, and then Russ's link is right below mine, and that's in the description of this video. But I want to go ahead and discuss or break down this video a little bit too. And then we may have to revisit some of these questions at a later date with Russ, because I had 9 questions broken down, but I think we did cover a lot here. All right, let's see.
If Jesse Mack Butler thought that he could just lie low and wait for all the outrage to blow over in that sweetheart deal that he got after raping 2 classmates, that's going to be tough because the wins seem to be picking up. Butler was back in court in Oklahoma this week for a check-in. The deal I mentioned wipes out a 78-year prison term for 10 rape-related charges, as long as he behaves and follows a few rules like rehab and community service and counseling and curfew. I call it a sweetheart deal because along with the rapes, he also strangled 2 teenage girls, one until she almost died. Both the state and the judge agreed to call him a, quote, youthful offender instead of an adult. And presto, he got probation with all those minimal conditions: rehab, community service, counseling, curfew. If he keeps his nose clean, the whole case drops off his record by the time he turns 19. And that is in August. It raised a lot of eyebrows and, quite frankly, pitchforks right across the country.
So, guys, I want to note something here. One of the questions I had for Russ was, when we look at the affidavit, we're not just looking at impulsive juvenile behavior. We're looking at calculated adult-level violence, love bombing and emotional manipulation, isolation tactics, escalating control and coercion, repeated sexual assaults, use of strangulation, violation of protective orders, recording violence, and patterns across multiple victims. He may be 17, but he's got the signs of an established predator. And that's what is so scary in this situation, that for people in the court system, the legal system that we trust, not or that we're supposed to trust technically at this point, not for them to see that. And again, based on the affidavit, love bombing and emotional manipulation, isolation tactics, escalating control and coercion, repeated sexual assaults, use of strangulation, violation of protective orders, recording the violence and patterns across multiple victims. And guys, when he was doing the assaults, the strangulations, he made no effort himself to de-escalate. There was no empathy there. You know, I've worked with juveniles, and there are some juveniles that the situation gets the best of them, and they do come around. They do manage impulse control. But this is strategic. This is not impulsive at all. This is someone who is starting to embrace this monster that they're becoming. And when you have systems that, hey, rehabilitation, I get it, should be offered to everyone. I get it. But we have to realize sometimes rehabilitation does not apply as the primary fix. It's secondary. And deterrence here comes from accountability. And along with that accountability comes safety. That sentence of 78 years should have been imposed because of what he is trying to become. And basically what we are trying to avoid.
When Jesse arrived at the Stillwater courthouse on Monday, protesters were there waiting, lining the streets. And inside the courthouse, Guerrilla Publishing got this video.
So we saw this.
Jesse, why did you rape those girls, Jesse? Why did you rape those girls, Jesse? Why did you rape the girls, Jesse? Why did you rape the girls? Don't touch me. I'm going in the courthouse. No, you gotta let them. I'm going in the courthouse. Jesse, why did you rape those girls, Jesse? Jesse, why did you rape the girls? Do you have anything to say to the victims, Jesse? Do you have anything to say to the victims? Being loud is not a violation. Sir, do you have anything to say to the victims? Do you have anything to say to the victims, Jesse? Why did you rape them, Jesse? Why did you rape the victims, Jesse? Why did you rape those girls? Why'd you strangle them, Jesse?
And now, again, guys, we did the video prior, but obviously, hopefully we understand at least what the sheriffs had to do. They were assigned a task. And one of the questions I was going to ask Russ, why do you think Jesse Mack Butler's case struck such a deep nerve? And obviously, it's the severity of the severity of the offenses, the lack of prison time, and the fear that this could happen anywhere. That's why this is getting national attention. And again, we believe the loophole here, because it's funny how the youth offender law should be meant to serve a purpose, not a loophole. And we feel that that's what happened here, that the youthful offender was a loophole to protect Jesse and was not in any way, shape, or form used to honor and then protect the victims.
That is what you call uncomfortable. And by my guess, the woman who was walking in behind Jesse sure did look a lot like his mom. He was at the courthouse to prove that he's complying with all those paltry terms of a no prison deal. And the answer seems to be mostly. His handlers say that he has checked in by phone almost every day since October, although one day he forgot. Another day, he had a medical issue, they said. He says that he's deleted his social media, and that is another condition. But he supposedly couldn't find the type of counseling that he needs, so that's delayed. And he only just started his community service last week. Again, this deal was October, and now we're almost Christmas. No mention yet of repercussions for any of those oopsie-daisies. And Jesse's not the only one who may be facing repercussions.
And guys, by the way, it's good that part of this is unsealed now by the new judge, because this at least gets us to see, even though it's not what we want, compliance or non-compliance, it gives us arguments if needed, if there's at least failure to comply with this very minimal level of accountability.
An attorney for one of his victims says that both girls' legal rights were violated at every turn in this deal that was struck. Allegedly, the girls weren't notified about hearings that they had a right to attend. And they say they were shut out of the plea negotiation process entirely. The lawyer says one victim was given less than 10 minutes notice before the plea deal was entered. Separately, an Oklahoma lawmaker who has blasted Jesse Butler's deal for months now has filed paperwork asking for a grand jury investigation into what he calls corruption in Payne County. And that lawmaker is going to join me in just a moment. But first, I want to welcome Justin Shepard, a digital journalist you may know well as Just in the Nick of Crime. He has been on this case from the beginning. Okay, Justin, the outrage meter is without question redlining. Do you think these protesters are actually going to have any effect, though?
I do to some degree. I think, first of all, you know, these victims, in my opinion, were denied justice by the system that was supposed to protect them. So the only accountability that Jesse Mack Butler is getting right now is through the court of public opinion. And I think that when you look at what's happening with the protests, he's not able to go anywhere. His name is everywhere. And he's not able to run from that no matter what the outcome of this is. And on top of that, the DA also put out a statement yesterday, the first time that somebody from the DA, a judge, anything like that, has made any type of a comment. And I feel like that statement was put out because of all the protests, because of all the fire that's behind, the anger that's behind what the punishment that Jesse got.
Well, let's talk about that. Do you have a copy of it with you? If you do, read a little bit of it and let's talk about it and tell me your thoughts about what the DA actually said.
So again, I like what he said about the court of public opinion, because this is something that the legal system needs to be listening to. You know, the fact is that you do have victims who need to feel protected when they come forward, and all this does, in my mind, is protect them in a manner where you're not going to have victims coming up. So like if another case like this happens again, there's a chance that it won't be reported. It sets such a horrible precedence going forward. If you can't trust the system, because my big thing is if you're going to report something, you want to feel protected. And when you can't trust the system to protect you, then you don't report it. And either people wind up continuing to hurt others, or you get a vigilante system, and then you get people that start supporting the vigilante system. That's why the justice system is so important. And this is a very important case, because it shows that if there's no accountability, the end results are going to be a system that fails to protect victims, or a vigilante system where you wind up holding the vigilantes more responsible, the ones that are seeking the eye for the eye, as opposed to ones who actually committed the initial hurt.
Publicly.
Yeah, let me get it pulled up. I can do that right now for you. Sorry.
Yeah, because I was actually wondering at what point, right, at what point since October and all of the frustration that has been voiced by the public, at what point were they going to say something? Go ahead.
So, well, let me go with the DA first. I think that you kind of wanted to know this part. So one of the things is a significant number of this is what she said, a significant number of more serious crimes provide the option of filing as a youthful offender. As a youthful offender, the accused has an opportunity for rehabilitation, but can be transitioned to adult status and adult punishment if those efforts fail. A much more limited number of crimes allow the state to file charges in the adult court from the beginning. So let me address that one first, because these were filed as adult charges in the court at the very beginning. And she's talking about more serious crimes. I don't know what's more serious than rape, strangulation, which is a key lethal indicator. And it feels like that's being downplayed. Another thing that she said, and this is the one that really kind of gets me, years of experience tells us that juries often struggle with convicting defendants based upon delayed reports of sexual assault between people in ongoing consensual dating relationships, and the trial process can be very traumatic for victims. So basically what she's trying to say here is that the victims are the reason, like we have the victims in mind. We're thinking about them. We don't want to put them through this trauma. But the thing here about that is that the victims wanted to stand up. If you've seen any of the victim impact statements, they're incredibly powerful. They wanted to use their voice, and they were denied that opportunity.
So now, guys, and that's a great point by Nick, because now if the victims want to speak and the legal system's like, no, we want to protect them, you're not protecting them now. You're quieting them. And that's frustration. That's a big part of this frustration. Don't use the guys that you're trying to protect them, because if we're telling you we want to speak, now you're putting a hand over my mouth and you're denying me my right to advocate for myself as a victim. And thank God these victims are still alive. You know, there could be a future incident. We don't have victims able to speak, especially the way he's escalating.
Well, Justin, not only that, look, I get it. Sometimes with delays, it's years, it's memories, it's all sorts of details and evidence. This isn't years. This is all within a year. I mean, this is not the kind of delay that you and I are used to seeing in criminal justice.
No.
This wasn't much of a delay at all. And telling me that it's an ongoing relationship, that's what domestic violence is. It's violence within a relationship. So I don't even understand what that statement means. I do want to ask you this. What are the consequences of the garbage that I heard today about, well, I missed one because I forgot it, and another one I was sick, and then I haven't gotten around to finding the, the rehab that works for me. And, the other thing is, I think I just started my community service this week. Well, this deal was October. What are the consequences? These are, to my eyes, these are like violations.
Yeah, I would agree with you saying with what he's facing, and I'll tell you how I look at this, with what he's facing, 78 years, looking down the barrel of 78 years, this is a guy who, from my understanding, just started his community service on December 2nd. The program they wanted him in was like the clean program. They denied him entry. They didn't want him. So the family was able to pick out who was going to be the ones he did community service with. The family was the ones that was in charge of that. I think that that's the first thing to note. The other thing is,
that's insane to know he gets a choice. And then, to be honest with you, if they're choosing where he gets to do the community service, talking about the families here, then it's really not an objective process. I mean, they could just, through connection with the family, not have him work at all. Here, just come here. We'll say you were here all day. I mean, wow, the benefits for Jesse just doesn't end. They even get to choose where he does his community service. So it's not even what the community deems is appropriate. It's where they may feel it's more easier for him, or at least that's going to be the perspective.
You're facing 78 years and you forget to call in. Like, you just, like, I forgot.
Yeah.
If I'm spending the bulk of my life behind bars, I will be dotting every I, crossing every T. I would have been out there doing community service the first week. So to me, what I'm seeing and what we see in the youthful offender report, what we saw in the transcripts from the hearing the other day, is that this is a kid who's just like, he's expecting to just have this go away when he's 19. He's just got to dot his I's, cross his T's, and go out. And I don't think they're going to hold him accountable at all.
Yeah, guys, but based on what Nick said, I agree. It's like he has this sense of entitlement that, in my mind, as serious as this may be, it's a laughing matter to him. I mean, he's right. If you just forget it, how do you forget that? This is your life. So I don't think it's forgetting. It's purposely not caring. I mean, he could have such a level of entitlement that this whole thing doesn't matter to him. And sometimes entitlement comes with some level of control, something that goes higher than maybe we could even think of. But for him to forget that phone call, that's, in my mind, you're right. With the strength of the situation, you're not forgetting that phone call. That's purposely not caring and just not calling. Or if in general, even if you did forget, wow, that's not even a priority on your mind. So I think that comes with entitlement. And entitlement is, entitlement's about power and control.
Well, why would he feel otherwise? This seemed to be a pretty easy set of crimes to escape. 10 rape-related charges, strangling 2 girls, both unconscious, one who needed surgery on her neck to repair the damage, and another one who said she was 30 seconds away from dying, according to her doctor. It doesn't get more serious than that. No. And you're right. How on earth anybody could not realize, I've been given another life. I should not squander it. I don't know how there are any violations or any oops-a-daisies or any delays. If there's any delays in any of this, it's on his part, it seems. Justin, keep on this. You're doing an amazing job at following the story, and I will continue to follow it with you, and I'll call you early and often.
All right, thank you. Anytime.
Justin Shepherd, Justin the Nick of Crime. Check out all of his social media, his podcast, his socials, all of them. He just does an amazing job. Okay, I now want to welcome JJ Humphrey. He is the state representative who says Jesse Butler's plea deal stinks. and is part of a wider problem. Welcome back to the program, Representative Humphrey. It's good to have you. Let's talk about this, the wider problem, because you're taking action. As I understand it, the whole reason that you have now petitioned for a grand jury is to find out what this wider problem is. Can you explain it in lay terms?
Absolutely. We have a huge problem going on here in Payne County with this case like Butler, many cases like that case, rape cases that are being covered up, child abuse cases that are being covered up. We have, cronyism, favoritism going on in the court system. And so that's what this grand jury hopes to get to the bottom of, to find out why these kind of cases have been allowed to go.
So a lot of times people, especially nowadays in America, think, well, this is all political. It must be someone's in one party and someone's in another party. Does any of this have to do with politics, or does it really straddle the political spectrum?
Oh, I absolutely think that it definitely has to do with politics. It has to do with the local politics in OSU and the college, as well as Stillwater, but then it brings in state politics as well, with a lot of prominent people, some of your top level government people. If you look at our grand jury petition, we have the entire Supreme Court justice. We have some of your top government officials, including the AG, on there, as well as most of your court system there in Payne County.
So guys, remember, so I'm doing my research here. This petition to the grand jury is more about accountability, not to get a guilty finding. So I got a grand jury petition does not overturn a conviction or sentence by itself. What it can do is force independent scrutiny of how a case was handled or how these type of cases are handled. So specifically, if enough valid signatures are obtained and the petition is accepted, a grand jury may investigate prosecutorial conduct, so examine whether prosecutors properly followed the law, including compliance with Marsy's law's obligation to victims, investigate court and procedural handling, so review whether the process, notice, hearings, plea handling comply with constitutional and statutory requirements, and compel testimony and documents, subpoena witnesses, prosecutors, court officials, and records that are not otherwise public. Issues findings, and it could also issue findings or recommendations, identify misconduct, systemic failures, or recommend reforms, even if no criminal charges result, and then refer matter for further action. So in rare cases, recommend criminal charges, disciplinary actions, or legislative fixes. Again, but that would be more towards the process and not towards the outcome. So one thing it cannot do, or things that it cannot do, is it cannot resentence Jesse Mack Butler, it cannot reverse the plea, it cannot order a judge removed, and it cannot guarantee criminal charges. So why it matters in this case is Humphrey pushes about process and accountability, not guilt. Were victims' rights honored? Did prosecutors meaningfully confer with victims? And did the system follow constitutional obligations? So basically, a grand jury wouldn't retry the case, but it could force transparency and accountability in how the case was handled. And that's the key.
Well, I always know that, especially with the Epstein story, people like to harness the word pedophile and jump all over it and blame the other party. So I just wondered if any of this has to do with Republican versus Democrat, or if this truly is just moms and dads who are in positions of power who say enough is enough.
Hey, what this has got to do, the lady's blindfolded, the lady of justice blindfolded. We're not supposed to be looking at politics. It shouldn't matter gender, race, political preference. That shouldn't matter. What matters is in Payne County, it's easier to find Bigfoot than an honest judge in Payne County. And so again, that's what this is about. It's about court corruption. It is about reprehensible actions like a rapist who raped 2 women, choked one within 30 seconds of being dead, that he's allowed to walk the streets while others report those types of crimes and they go to jail. This stuff is reprehensible and we have to call it out. And again, these are many things happening. It's not one case. That's what's so astounding. That is what's so out of control here, is it's not one case. If it was one case that dropped through the cracks, okay, Jesse Butler, it's case after case after case of this, and that's what you call a pattern. You call that a pattern, and that's what we did.
You guys saw it at the end of the Gorilla video where they talked about another case, and there was another case we covered a while ago as well. So this is the process of how these cases are handled.
Yeah, well, that, I've noticed that you entered this grand jury petition 4 p.m. yesterday. There are multiple issues with regard to other than just Jesse Butler's case. But since we're talking about Butler's case, what impact might this grand jury petition have on the Butler case, if any?
Well, I think what this is going to do is you're going to see the people who were instrumental in allowing that to happen. And I don't think it's just one judge. I don't think it's just the district attorney. I think there's other judges involved in that. And what you're going to see is those people called to accountability. Why did they do this? What was their motive behind doing this? Was this misconduct? Was this abuse of court? And we possibly could get where they couldn't hold office. So I think this is really, really big. I think this could have a big impact. I think what the lawyer filed in Butler's case today for the victims could also have a huge impact.
Well, I like hearing about people in power facing consequences and being held to account. But I think, speak for a lot of people when they say, but might it do anything to the Butler case, or is it really just about the system itself?
I don't think this grand jury is going to reverse what the Butler, it's hard to reverse the case once they've already pled it out. I think what that lawyer filed today saying, if I understand correctly, there's Marsh's law, there's some laws that were violated because the victims weren't brought in, the victims weren't given timely manner to show up and to protest or see what was done. So again, if that was done illegally or wrongfully, then they may be able to overturn that based on those things. I have a lot more hope that those actions would change that. There may be another victim that could come in and get new charges. That's a possibility. And so again, I think the grand jury is going to be about holding those people who did this, finding out why this has been allowed. And again, to show this as an extreme pattern, a continual pattern, not one case, many, many cases, whether it's DHS cases, whether it's rape cases, child abuse cases, all the cases that we see being mishandled and misconduct in this court system.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our...
Sorry about that. As we come to a close, I wanted to note something. So protection, because I think the fight here really comes with holding Jesse Mack Butler accountable, because within accountability is protection. I mean, there's so many things that connect to accountability, like deterrence, and we don't see that here. And I got protection and accountability go hand in hand, because you can't protect people without holding someone responsible. If there's no accountability, dangerous behavior continues, victims stay at risk, and communities remain exposed. And if there's no protection, victims are silenced, reporting drops, and the system loses trust. When you lose trust, you get the vigilante side. So accountability is what creates protection. It sets boundaries, stops escalation, and signals that harm has consequences. Protection without accountability is just a promise. Look at that. Protection without accountability is just a promise. Accountability without protection is incomplete justice. And that's the way to end the show. Accountability without protection is incomplete justice. And that's the whole gist of this dialogue. Guys, again, if you like the dialogue or like the discussions, feel free to buy me a cup of coffee. I have the link to that in the description as well on top of the YouTube channel. Any cases you feel you want me to cover, hit us up. My email is at ganjianthony@yahoo.com. So reverse my name, ganjianthony@yahoo.com. I'm going to look for any other further updates on the cases we have been covering. But in the meantime, as always, guys, stay safe.